Hi everyone, Britt here from Torque. I am here with Dina Mathers, CISO at Carvana. Dina, we are at Black Hat, we're walking the show floor and we're seeing a lot of AI. We're seeing some AI hype. How do you decipher from what's real and what's just, fake?
Yeah, so you're right, there is a lot of hype around AI, and I think that's what's resulting in a lot of skepticism around AI. And so for me, the community is so small, so I trust colleagues and referrals, and oftentimes I'm asking peers what are they deploying and using, and using that as kind of the baseline to kind of filter out the noise.
So Carvana is a very innovative company, and a lot of teams are apprehensive to adopt AI. How did you get executive buy-in?
Yeah, so for us, even though we're a Fortune 500 company, we operate more like a startup. So we have an AI first, mindset or strategy at the company. And so we really embrace AI. And so it was pretty simple from our perspective to get AI implemented. But if you don't have that, and maybe you're a company that's a little more risk adverse, what I would recommend is tying the AI initiatives to your corporate goals. So a lot of us are under pressure to cut costs, as an example, and for us, establishing a security operations center can be very expensive, right? Like you're going to hire people to cover 24/7, whether you do follow the sun, maybe you do a dedicated security operations center. You might look to augment your team with managed security service providers. That is very expensive, and for a fraction of the cost, you can deploy an AI agent that can triage effectively all your tier 1 and tier 2 security events. And then that also helps improve the morale of your team because they can focus on more exciting strategic initiatives versus mundane review of policy violations or vulnerability scans or potential exploitation of vulnerabilities.
Definitely, and I want to talk a little bit more about that. So how has using Torque improved the efficiency for your operations team?
Yeah, so we've leveraged Torque HyperSOC to essentially triage 100% of our tier 1 and tier 2 security events. We did take a kind of what I would describe as a crawl, walk, run approach. So we started with our tier 1 because it's lower risk, again, and then we assigned those cases to the AI agent to triage. But we kept a human in the loop for several months just to make sure that they were following the right playbook and came up with the right conclusions. And then we would close out the case or the incident. And then after we got comfortable doing that, then we started using the AI agent to do outreach to some of our end users to say, was this actually you? We saw you create, say, a service principal in Azure. Was that you? And then the AI agent can take that and update the case, and then now we don't have to do outreach. And we're not quite there yet, but I do see in the future the AI agent being able to effectively triage all of our events. Not only triage, remediate as well.
Dina, AI governance is mission critical for security teams. How is Carvana going about the AI implementation process?
Yeah, so we have an AI task force that we established with a cross-functional team from engineering, our product team, legal, information security. We also hired a director of AI governance, and we review all the requests. So there's a lot. So we have a Jira ticketing process, and then we review it to say, do we already have a tool in place that's sanctioned, for lack of a better word? And then if not, then we make sure we have the right business case, because a lot of times everyone wants to use AI, but nobody really knows how they're going to use it. And so you might try to dig in and say, what are you using this for? And again, if there's not a legit, valid business case, then we reject the ticket. But if there is, then we do an information security review on it, and then a legal view, making sure we have the right contractual requirements around data protection and using AI.
What would you say your driver is behind creating a strategy for an AI automated SOC?
Yeah, so again, prior to our investment in Torque's HyperSOC, we were using a managed security service provider, and truthfully, I haven't had positive experience with any managed security service provider. Oftentimes they're escalating incidents to you 12 hours after it happened. And so when the HyperSOC was available in beta, we were really excited to get our hands on it and be an early adopter because it just sounded like a no-brainer. Like the company wants us to leverage AI. This is a low risk. You can keep a human in the loop. You can assign specific cases to the agent so it doesn't have to do everything all at once. Because I know there's a little hesitation around access and what risk does it introduce, but it's a very pragmatic approach because it's like just focus on lower risk items first, prove it out, and then you can kind of grow your use cases from there. So we initially invested in it for the Security Operations Center, but we're seeing a lot of other use cases beyond like your traditional triaging, eyes on glass, responding to events and incidents. So we're also using Torque's HyperSOC to automate some of yes, it's operational security, but not necessarily traditional security operations, like addressing tech debt as an example. Like if an account hasn't been used in some 90 days, 6 months, a year, you can use Torque to disable the account. So anyway, there's a lot of different use cases beyond just the traditional SOC.
How has implementing AI improved the morale of your team?
Yeah, so in traditional security operations centers, analysts are responding to events, and oftentimes they're mundane events. Maybe it's a potential brute force, maybe it's a vulnerability scan for a vulnerability that doesn't even exist in your environment. And so what the HyperSOC has allowed our team to do is focus on strategic projects and focus on detection engineering as well. So what I'm actually seeing, at least for our Security Operations Center, I'm seeing a convergence of the analyst role with the engineering role because, again, we're offloading a lot of the analyst work to the Agentic AI SOC analyst to do the triage and respond. So then my team has time to correlate logs, make sure we have all of the right logs. We're only as good as our detection, so mapping our detections to the MITRE framework, investing in projects maybe like around data security or data governance. And so it really it allows them to do work beyond the traditional security operations center, and you're not like pigeonholing them into a specific role. They have the freedom and flexibility to work on other initiatives that are way more exciting and way better use of their time and their skill set.
And speaking of beyond the SOC, what are some of the top use cases you're seeing?
So Carvana has about 20,000 employees and we're rapidly growing. We're hiring about 500 new users every day. And so we've been able to leverage Torque to automate the onboarding of users to improve day one experience, making sure they have the right account with the right access from day one, preventing them from having to open several, 20 ServiceNow tickets to get access. And so that's really helped from a user experience and an employee experience perspective. And then we've also used it to offboard users. So when somebody's terminated, there's automation that will automatically disable the account as well.
Dina, a lot of teams are running into legal hurdles when adopting AI. How did you go about it with Carvana?
Yeah, so again, we established the AI task force that has representation from legal, engineering, and information security. And so as part of the review process for any use case for AI, we make sure that we have the right contractual obligations with our vendors to make sure that our data is adequately protected. But before that happens, we're also trying to understand the use case because there are some AI adoptions where maybe you're only getting access to technology information. That's a little bit different risk than getting access to our customer information as an example. And so just having a better understanding of the data that is going to be accessed by the AI agent allows us to make sure we have like a data protection addendum as an example, or an information security addendum added to the contracts for existing partners. And then any new adoption or new vendors as part of we have a legal contract review ticket, and one of the questions that the stakeholder has to answer is whether this vendor is going to be using AI in any capacity. And so that kind of triggers a review from our intellectual property team. We want to make sure we're not inadvertently updating agents with our like intellectual property, or again, customer information. How do we make sure that's adequately protected? And then we do an information security review as well.
And Dina, finally, what advice would you give any CISOs that are a little apprehensive to bring AI to their fellow executives?
Yes, I know there's a lot of hype. I would say try it out and take a risk-based approach. I feel like if you're not doing that, you're kind of doing your team and yourself a disservice, because it really can create a lot of efficiency and improve your team morale, and you can have your humans focused on higher efficacy events or more strategic projects. So I would say try it.
Dina Mathers, CISO at Carvana, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.